The Jewish legal tradition has operated for over 3,000 years through a process of rigorous, demanding logic. This tradition constitutes an objective legal architecture. It requires structural transparency and a high degree of precision from those who engage with it. In the 12th century, Moses Maimonides, a primary jurisprudential architect of this system, codified the exact blueprint required to master it. A system built on rational agency survives centuries of exile through a strictly mandated pedagogical sequence. Without this architecture, the integrity of the law cannot be maintained. In Hilkot Talmud Torah, Maimonides dictates scholars divide their focus into 3 equal parts. The first third is mastery of the written Torah, the foundation. The second third requires literal retention of primary oral law, specifically the Mishnah, Tosefta, Sifra, and Sifrei. This tier demands literal memorization. Before engaging in abstract debate, the scholar establishes an objective database of law within their own mind. The final third is Talmud. This describes the methodology of extracting deep logic and applying hermeneutical principles to those foundational texts. Legal mastery depends on dedicating equal, sequential weight to all 3 distinct tiers. This third tier depends entirely on the stability of the first 2. Deduction cannot occur within a vacuum of knowledge. Maimonides defines Talmud as a process rather than a specific physical book. It is the application of deductive logic to foundational texts. The scholar enters a state of total active engagement in Sevara, the logical derivation required to navigate objective law. The apex of the Maimonidean curriculum is this state of active intellectual synthesis, validating the necessity of the base structure. The sequential architecture of Maimonides contrasts sharply with the methods common in contemporary academic pedagogy. A modern pedagogical error involves instructing young students to bypass the foundational tiers. Instead, students are introduced immediately to the Babylonian Talmud, or Gemara, a complex text often used to subvert the proper learning sequence. Instructors may justify this by claiming the Gemara's use of biblical verses fulfills the requirements of the first tier. They further argue that because the Gemara debates the Mishnah, reading it provides mastery over the second tier. Relying on a composite text to replace primary source mastery creates an illusion of knowledge. It hollows out the scholar's structural integrity. This shortcut produces scholars who lack foundational literacy in the written law. A legal expert who has never systematically read the Hebrew Bible from front to back remains dependent on secondary sources. This approach results in the neglect of literal memorization of the Mishnah and early Midrashic Halakha. Without a memorized database of the oral law, a student cannot independently verify the Gemara's underlying premises. The student becomes a passive consumer of historical debates rather than a master of primary deduction. This dependence contradicts the kinetic, independent thought of historical sages. The shortcut severs the scholar from the objective bedrock of Jewish jurisprudence, replacing mastery with the inheritance of ancient summaries. Within this system, Talmud functions as a verb. Sevara places a rigorous demand on the scholar to generate their own logical deductions from objective law. Performing the act of Talmudic deduction is a different cognitive task than passively reading the Gemara. The text called the Gemara serves as a historical record of past sages performing their own active deductions. Reading someone else's historical deduction does not fulfill the student's duty to generate first principles logic today. Maimonidean scholarship requires the scholar to become an active participant in legal deduction. The Gemaral functions as a tool for the mind rather than a replacement for it. Reclaiming the scholar requires restoring the historical curriculum. This starts with the literal mastery of the written Torah. The sequence then demands the literal memorization of the foundational oral law. This stage relies on texts written in clear, objective language, which allows the student to internalize the law without the distraction of extended debate. Skipping the literal absorption of objective law permanently limits a scholar's ability to engage in advanced jurisprudence. Mastering these objective laws allows the scholar to focus their attention entirely on the third tier. The curriculum differentiates the study of practical, objective halakha from the analytical extraction process. The Mishnah Torah acts as a bridge, preparing a reader for the rigors of Talmudic analysis. This preparation allows the Babylonian Talmud, the Gemara, to take its historical place within the curriculum. The Gemara represents a destination in the curriculum, reached only after the foundation is secure. It is a text authored by elite scholars for advanced scholars who have already established their bedrock. At this level, the scholar applies their mastery of written and oral law to complex Sevara. The crown of the Gemara cannot hold its weight without the pillars of the Tanakh, the Mishnah, and the Mishnah Torah beneath it. The path of Talmud Torah is an architectural triumph. Layer by layer, reason is constructed until it culminates in the active mastery of divine jurisprudence.